Is Trump afraid to release the Epstein files? I do not want to be asking this question right now. I don't want to be making a video like this, but the way he acts when he is asked about Epstein is bizarre. I mean, look at this.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
Different than the other ones. You ask him about 9/11, yes, no problem. You ask him about JFK, yes, no problem. He did that already. You ask about Epstein, he hesitates. On multiple occasions, they ask him, will you release the Epstein files? He said, yeah. Both times on Lex Friedman.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago.
And once I noticed this, I started to finally open the door to something that I've been ignoring for a while. It's like sometimes you don't want to know certain information almost out of the fear of being disappointed by it. So once I see Trump acting this way about it, once I see them being weird about releasing the Epstein files, I start rereading Whitney Webb's books, One Nation Under Blackmail, Volume 1, Volume 2. We're tearing through it right now in the Forbidden Book Society on Circles on the Minnect app if you want to see what we're doing. But, man, there is a real compelling case to be made that Trump is genuinely afraid to release these things. So let me give you some context for that. Long before Jeffrey Epstein became famous, there was a guy named Roy Cohn who was the real pioneer of using blackmail as a form of currency. And this guy, Roy Cohn, he was Donald Trump's mentor. So what happened was Trump and his father, they were jammed up in the situation in the 70s where the Department of Justice was coming after them for racially discriminating against people who were trying to live in their apartment building. Trump wants to buy the Commodore Hotel, and he cannot do it until he gets this case off of his back. So he goes to Roy Cohn because Roy Cohn is like the guy, the fixer. He was a star during the McCarthy hearings. He worked in politics. He worked with the mafia people. He knew everybody. So he goes to Roy Cohn and says, yeah, I got this problem. Roy Cohn goes in the offense, files a $100 million lawsuit against the Department of Justice. And long story short, it all works out for Trump, and he gets to buy the Commodore Hotel. And there's a lot of evidence to show that Roy Cohn taught Trump how to blackmail people. So Roy Cohn literally had something called a favor bank, according to Whitney Webb's book, One Nation Under Blackmail. And he learned how to use blackmail and the true power of it from his mentor named Generoso Pope Sr., a mafia-connected businessman that was very influential in media and the cement industry, who also came in handy when Trump was building Trump Tower. Now, it's no question whether or not Roy Cohn was a huge blackmail proponent, but the question is, like, how dirty was the type of blackmail that he was doing? Because there's a quote from a book called The Franklin Cover-Up by John DeCamp, and the Franklin Cover-Up is a real sick, twisted thing. The Franklin Cover-Up, if you never heard of it, it was a pedophile ring in Omaha, Nebraska that really got swept under the rug after it got exposed, like to the point where the kids who testified saying that they were victims to this went to jail for perjury. The guy who was investigating it died in a plane crash. So in this book, it says, according to the former head of the Vice Squad for one of America's biggest cities, quote, Cohn's job was to run the little boys. Process that. Cohn's job was to run the little boys. So this book is alleging that according to a Vice Squad for one of America's biggest cities, Roy Cohn was running boys, underage boys, for these elite pedophile rings. Don't know if that's true, but that's what it says in this book. Now, the conversation gets really uncomfortable when you see things like, according to Roy Cohn's former switchboard operator, Trump called Roy Cohn as much as 5 times a day during his lifetime because Cohn was his mentor. He was his go-to guy for everything. All right, so here's a strange series of events. So Roy Cohn dies in 1986 after being Trump's mentor. Trump and Epstein become acquaintances in 1987, right? Then in 1998, Trump buys both the Plaza Hotel, which has famously been used for blackmail by Roy Cohn, by the FBI, and by the mafia. Like, it's famous that it's just absolutely ridden with cameras and microphones in the walls to record people doing things that they would be ashamed of or embarrassed of or that are illegal and using it against them as blackmail. That's what went on in this place, and Trump bought that hotel in 1988. 1 year after he met Epstein and 2 years after Roy Cohn died. That same year, he buys a yacht for $30 million from the international arms dealer Adnan Khashoggi. This guy's worth $3 billion. And the weird thing is, not only that this boat was also used for blackmail, that it also allegedly had cameras and microphones in it. But Trump was quoted as saying that he didn't even like boats. In an article, he says, quote, "I'm not into them. I've been on friends boats before and couldn't get off them fast enough." So he claims he bought this just for the sheer spectacle of it. But you got to hear some of these things that people said about Epstein that add to like the mythology of how influential or powerful he was. So while serving as Secretary of Labor under the Trump administration, Alex Acosta informed the Trump transition team that he had previously approved Epstein's controversial sweetheart plea deal because he said, quote, "Epstein belonged to intelligence." That's what he was told. To really give you a 1,000-foot view of the situation, there's this giant interconnected web of intelligence agencies and organized crime working with businessmen and politicians. Started during World War II because the government had to start working with organized crime because organized crime excelled in areas that our government did not excel. So it's like when the government hires a contractor to build something better than the government could build it, they linked up with organized crime to be more effective in certain areas that the government couldn't be effective in. And they discovered that that was a very advantageous relationship for them. And they, went on happily ever after, just doing whatever they wanted. And a lot of that ended up being blackmail used by both the intelligence agencies like MI6, Mossad, CIA. When you get into business, you have Hollywood, you have Vegas, you have entertainment, you have banking, of course. Then you have politicians. It turns out freaking Reagan was part of this. Obviously, George H.W. Bush Sr. is part of this. And it's a real genuine question as to whether or not Trump is part of all of this. Within Trump's life, fit the same patterns of a lot of these people. Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Trump, was in that circle. Photographed at parties with them during the 80s when the real heyday where Robert Maxwell's very active as a international spy, posing as a media mogul. And you know what's the craziest thing of all this to me, and almost the creepiest thing of all this to me, is that it's not hard to find this information. And look how hard Democrats tried to take out Trump, like going above and beyond to be creative and twist and contort the law. Like, the cases they threw against him were super weak. Like, they tried to put him in jail for like making a stripper sign an NDA. They tried to put him in jail for overpricing his real estate. They really wanted to go after him for something. Then, like, why not this one? And that makes me think that the answer is because they were involved in it too. And it's just that freaking deep that nobody wants to touch this. There's also even a claim that in 1998, Epstein was the one who introduced Trump and Melania to each other. Whitney Webb says that Epstein's contact book had multiple numbers for Trump in it, and it had Melania's number in it. Then that same year, Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Prince Andrew all attended a celebrity tennis event at Mar-a-Lago where Trump and the prince posed for a photo. That does not age well. By the way, what's up with Trump going all goo goo gaga for the royal family? I don't like that at all, one bit. That's a topic for another day, though. Him saying that we would be a Commonwealth nation or whatever. Get the hell out of here. The relationship finally ends in 2004. The publicly stated reason is that it was over a dispute regarding a purchase of a Palm Beach property that maybe they both wanted or something. Trump never explained the fallout, but says that the friendship ended long before his political career, or before even Epstein's arrest. But for the record, in 2009, attorney Brad Edwards, who represented several Epstein victims, said that Trump was very cooperative in providing information about Epstein in this case. Now, to say that's the tip of the iceberg is the understatement of the century. I mean, I just tried to summarize 40 hours worth of audiobook content in 10 minutes right there. I can't urge you enough to join my book club where we analyze the hell out of these books and make it crystal clear what is going on, what to expect, what had happened, every which way. Another weird random fact is, why the hell did Trump hire Bill Barr as his attorney general in 2018 through 2020? You know what Bill Barr did? Bill Barr did a whole lot of crazy things. Bill Barr was straight up CIA. His father was straight up CIA, like OSS type of CIA. Father hires Epstein at the Dalton School when he has no business being a teacher. Bill Barr also told Bill Clinton at one time, if you don't F up and do something stupid, you're going to get the job you've always wanted, because people like you are the future leaders of this country. So Bill Barr was all over the place doing some shady stuff. He was the attorney general for George H.W. Bush for the 2-year period where they needed a corrupt attorney general most, because there was a whole lot of sick, twisted stuff that happened in the late 1980s. Under Reagan, shockingly, Reagan, not as much of a saint as you thought, that Bill Barr had to sweep under the rug. So he had a 2-year period where it was just straight up damage control. Then what are the odds he becomes attorney general again when the Epstein stuff happens? When Epstein gets whacked in prison. Very, very, very strange. So in conclusion, I don't think we're going to see the Epstein files. I think Trump is all over it. Like, you can't look at the Epstein files without looking at some revealing, unfortunate stuff about Trump. I don't think he's evil. I don't think he is into the sick, twisted shit that Epstein and Bill Gates are into. But I definitely think that he is ashamed of some of the things that he did and does not want a lot of them to come out, because him and Epstein were very, very, very friendly and connected and hanging out all the time from the late 1980s to the early 2000s. I'm somebody who said 99% positive things about Trump over the last 8 years, but these are the facts. So if you want to know more about this topic, like right here, join Minnect, download the app, and join the Forbidden Book Society Circle, and you will get the iceberg. This is the tip of the iceberg. That's the iceberg. So check that out. If you want to know more about some unsettling things, go watch either of these two videos. Hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe. Much love. I'll talk to you later.